Hello, and thank you for joining us once again here at Sunnyside Up Farm. Today we are getting ready for our meat birds. We have 30 white rangers coming, and we have 8 broad-breasted white turkeys coming. We're going to do things a little bit different this year because we normally get our meat birds in the springtime. We couldn't get them this spring because we had some obligations early in the spring which kept us from being able to do that. So we're doing them now in this midsummer. It's the beginning of August. We're going to get those birds in 2 days, and we're going to get our brooders set up now. Now normally when we're doing this early springtime, temperatures are much colder outside, so what we typically do is we raise these birds in our stock tank. We have them upstairs in our heated workshop so we can keep that ambient air temperature about 75 degrees, and then we use radiant heat plates for further warming of the birds. Because the air temperature outside, being summertime, is warm, our garage is actually at 75 degrees, so we're going to raise these downstairs in our garage. We're going to have our white rangers in the stock tank, and I'm going to put our broad-breasted white turkeys directly into our mobile brooder. And typically we use this in the springtime once the weathers are a little bit warmer during the day, but they're still cool at night. We can put the birds in here. We can move them in and out of an indoor setting and an outdoor setting, so we can keep that nighttime temperature controlled a little bit better, but get them kind of accustomed to the outside sunshine and get them used to those warmer temperatures outside. But this year, because it's summertime, we're going to put our turkeys directly in here. They're going to grow very fast. They'll be ready to go out on grass in 4 weeks, and they'll be quite a good size by then. I think our white rangers will be ready to go outside in 4 weeks too. I have a second stock tank if they outgrow this one, but then they'll go into a chicken tractor and they'll be on the lawn for the remainder of their growing season. So this year we're doing white rangers. We typically do freedom rangers, but because we're doing these in late summer, we wanted a bird that was going to grow a little bit quicker. So we're going to do white rangers. They should be ready to process in probably about 8 weeks. Typically with the freedom rangers, we go about 10 to 12 weeks. We usually do the roosters in 10 weeks and the hens in 12 weeks. So we'll see what the timing is on this. It's something new that we're trying this year. But this setup is pretty easy, pretty standard. We just take our stock tank. We're going to put some fine wood shavings in the bottom. I'm going to use 2 Brincia EcoGlow 1200 radiant heat plates. That's worked very good for us in the past. And that'll give plenty of room for those birds to seek extra warmth if they're not comfortable with the ambient outside temperature. Now we're going to keep an eye on this bedding as it starts to get, it'll get wet from the spilling water in there, it'll get food all over it, and obviously droppings in here. We'll clean this out periodically. We don't want any smell. We want the chickens to make sure they're in a nice, clean, healthy environment. These are our heat plates, and this basically radiates heat from here, and it's not like your typical heat lamp. Heat lamp, you're going to feel that heat coming directly off the bulb. We don't like to use heat lamps, especially because we're raising the birds in our home. We don't want to have that risk of fire if something happens with that bulb or if that heat lamp falls into the shavings. So we found these as a safer alternative, and they've worked terrific for us. The birds like them. They learn how to use them really quickly, and we have not had any losses due to temperature or anything like that. The one problem with these heat plates is this thin wire here. This wire, the birds tend to jump on top of these heat plates. They'll jump up and down this wire, and we've had a couple of these break. I have replaced them. I replaced one just using the same wire. I don't think that's a permanent solution. This year I did replace one with a heavier same gauge wire, but it's actually encased in a lot thicker insulation, and I think that's going to be a real game changer. I think it'll make these a lot more durable. We're going to use that one in our mobile brooder with the turkeys because those birds are heavier. But these things are pretty simple. They have screw-on legs, and you can adjust the height of these legs up and down depending on how big the birds are. And like I said, we'll use 2 of them in this brooder for the 30 rangers. I'll use one of them with the turkeys. They'll get pretty resilient to the temperature this time of year. I have a 3rd or 4th one if we need to. So if they start getting really, really big and they still need that warmth, we'll put the 4th one in. But these things adjust pretty high. I mean, you can get this so it's, 7 inches or so off the ground, and they'll just huddle up underneath here together and stay warm. So very happy with these. They use very little energy. We run our house on solar, so that's pretty key for us, is the amount of energy use. But their safety, that's the one biggest thing, is how safe they are, and that's why we've chose to use these. So I'm going to get these adjusted, get them into the stock tank, and then we'll get a waterer for them and food, and have that all set for them when they arrive in a couple days. What I like to do is I like to make these a little bit higher in the front than in the back. That way it's easier for the birds to get underneath. I'm just going to put both of them right next to each other. It'll give a nice large area because they like to be together. I have done it where I put them on opposite sides, but I do find that there's typically a larger number of birds on one side. So I'm going to get both of these put in on this side, and then we have plastic covers that go over this to keep them clean. So these are the clear plastic covers. It comes with a set, or it comes with one of them for each heat plate you buy, but I've bought extra ones, which is nice because that way when these get dirty, you can just pull these off. You can put a clean one on, then you have time to wash and let the other one dry before reinstalling it. Just makes it a lot easier if you have extra ones. So for their water, I'm just going to use a small standard waterer. I do have a block that I put together and put this in the shavings, but then I'll put the water on top of this to try and keep it as clean as possible. They're still going to get a lot of shavings and stuff in it. Once the birds get a little bit bigger, we actually transition this to a hanging waterer, and I just put a board across with a chain that I can actually adjust the height depending on how big the birds are. For the feeder, we do the same thing. We're going to start with this chick feeder. They'll outgrow this pretty quickly and they'll go to a standard feeder. I'm going to put that on a block also, just to keep it out of the shavings. Plus the birds are going to be on top of those shavings, so they'll be able to reach this with no problem. Move this a little farther out because they'll tend to want to go to both sides. So that's pretty much what our setup's going to look like for the white rangers. We would have done this in the garage, but for filming purposes it's kind of dark in there, so that's why we did it outside. So I'll get Deb to help me bring this in the garage after we're done filming here. But the next thing we're going to do is we're going to set up the mobile brooder for the turkeys, and I'll show you how we do that. So I built this mobile brooder a few years ago. It's actually worked out very well. I built it on an old boat trailer that I had, and just basically built this little house and put it on top. But the nice thing about this is the roof opens from both sides. So we can open this completely up. And I can use this for a couple things. The floor in this is 1-inch mesh squares. So we can bring this out into the field and everything, and any droppings will go directly through and help fertilize our yard. Or for this purpose, I'm going to actually put cardboard down first, and I'm going to put the shavings on top of that because those openings are obviously too big for these small birds when we get them as chicks. So we're going to put some cardboard in there, and then we're going to fill it with shavings just like we did the other brooder. So one of the nice things I like is we do have this temperature sensor right in here. This allows us to monitor the temperature of this brooder at all times. We can set up alerts. It connects to our weather station so I can access it from anywhere. That way it'll let us know if the temperature drops below an acceptable range and we need to move those birds inside or turn the heat on in the garage or whatever. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to use one of these heat plates for the turkeys. This is the one that I actually repaired with the heavier wire. I don't know if you can really tell there, but it's about a 1/4 inch thick. So it's still a 22 gauge wire, which is what the original wire was on this, but it's coated with a heavy coating on it. I think this will give us a lot more durability. Only time will tell, but I really think it's going to work very well. So the next step is we're just going to get our wiring through. We have an opening that we can feed that through. We'll get our plastic cover on here and we'll be all set to go. We're going to use the same type of feeder initially. And we can set that up the same way. I'm just going to put this on that block. You'll be able to reach that. And for our water, we're actually going to hang it from this chain. I'm going to hang it so it's just sitting on top of these shavings because I don't want it moving too much around too much when they're small. Let me put a little more shavings in here because I do want this just a little bit more stable. I'll probably move my feeder just back a little bit where the birds can get to both sides, but everything's nice and close to their heat plate here, so as they're learning and getting accustomed to the brooder here, they won't have too far to go. Once they get bigger, our feeder will end up out here, or we may swap these depending on what we want to do. But that's basically a setup. So we're going to get these back in the garage, and the next thing to do is just wait for the birds. So we've got our chickens and turkeys from the post office. Open this up, show you what they look like. And there they are. Kind of all mixed together. You can kind of, the tall one's probably a turkey. To figure out, there should be 31 white rangers and I think there's 9 broad-breasted white turkeys. We're going to get these in the brooder, show them where their water is, and show them their new home. So they all kind of look the same now, but the turkeys, they're pretty easy to identify. You look right here on their top of their beak, basically. There's a little knob there, so we know those are the turkeys. So we're gonna, I guess, separate those out first, and we'll get those into the mobile brooder. That'll be the easiest, and the rest of them we'll just be able to put into the other brooder. So we're gonna show them where their water is. I'm just gonna put them in there now. They've been through enough stress. Let's just get them in. Check a little later. Made that so far.
4. One's drinking.
They all seem to be pretty healthy. They seem to be doing well. They're roaming all over the place.
No, don't walk in there.
Haven't really found the food yet, but they will. Okay, so we got our 9 turkeys inside here. I don't know if you can see that. They seem to be walking around pretty well, so we're going to leave them alone. And we're going to get we should have 31 of the white rangers, so we're going to get those into the other brooder. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing with our chicks. So there they are, our 31 white rangers. We had no casualties in shipping at all. We've had very good luck with Freedom Ranger Hatchery. They're probably one of the closest hatcheries to us, so that's one of the reasons we chose them. But we've had very good luck with their birds. We've never had a casualty in shipping. See there, getting used to the heat plate. We're going to leave them alone. We'll check on them later. Everybody looks pretty happy. We do have them covered with some old screening. This is just some extra protection. So our birds are about a week old now. You see what we're talking about. They kind of mess up the top here. That's why these extra covers are really nice. Just remove these. So we actually planted some carrots today. These are our fall carrots. We've got one more bed that we're going to plant. We put them under those tarps to keep them moist. We'll leave those tarps on for 5 days to a week and check the germination. But anyways, our chickens and turkeys are doing pretty well. We did lose one chicken the first day, probably from stress of shipping, but we have lost 4 turkeys over the last 4 days, and that was kind of a disappointment. I do believe turkeys are a little bit more difficult to start after shipping. We typically buy our turkeys from a local either Tractor Supply or farm store that has them already in stock, so we're able to get birds that we know have made it through shipping very healthy. So next year we'll probably do that again. The only reason we didn't do it this year is because we were unsure with the timing, because we're doing our birds in the fall and we normally do them in the springtime. So that was just something we were unsure of. But actually we did find a local farm store that had broad-breasted white turkeys in stock and about a week old, same as what we have. So we were able to get 3 replacement birds. So we're back up to 8 broad-breasted white turkeys, which is nice. And that's the number that we had originally anticipated starting out with. So we have our 30 white rangers, our 8 broad-breasted white turkeys. We will process the white rangers at about 8-9 weeks, and the turkeys will let go about 14 to 15 weeks, which will put us right before Thanksgiving. So that should be pretty good timing for us. We're just a little unsure of doing this in the fall, since we've never done it in the fall, and weather could probably be a little bit more of a factor, but I think everything will work out fine. If you have any questions or comments, please put them in the comments below. If you like today's video, please hit that like button, and if you haven't subscribed to our channel, we certainly would appreciate you subscribing to our channel. And as always, here on Sunny Side Up Farm, until next time, we hope all your days are sunny side up.